Listen, I understand how crazy this is gonna sound, but you have to believe me. I can't explain the how or why, but I can tell you the what. And trust me when I say, it's the kind of what that's gonna make you think, what the fuck? Before I get into this story, allow me to explain that I'm an absolute recluse. I have no friends, I'm an orphan, and the foster parents that adopted me couldn't give a fuck less about me. There are times I go days without ever actually speaking. People don't care about me, and they don't care about what I have to say. I think it's safe to say that I was completely alone in every way, shape, and form. I was a nobody, nothing, and I always would be. I always had aspirations of becoming a famous YouTuber, but without a job, and my foster parents refusing to buy me any equipment, I was shit out of luck. So, to begin, it was a normal winter afternoon. I was trapped inside the giant house, alone. My foster parents were vacationing for 2 weeks in some getaway cabin they owned in the middle of nowhere. They never brought me on their vacations. I was always stuck in their giant house. The only thing I liked about this was that I got to be completely alone and indulge myself in my favorite pastime, leaving troll comments on YouTube videos. I mentioned before that I always aspired to be a YouTuber, but I always found myself full of envy at anyone who even saw a glimmer of success. Most of these people were shallow, self-absorbed degenerates who couldn't string 2 sentences together without a jump cut in between. Honestly, that was my favorite thing to do in the whole world. I became addicted to leaving nasty comments on people's videos. Why should they get the love and attention of millions while I'm stuck in this empty house alone, with only the sound of my keyboard typing and vitriolic insults to keep me company? It's not fucking fair. Anyway, I was typing away insults as usual when something strange happened to me. I got an odd reply to a comment that I left. This strange YouTube account replied, asking me an odd question.
Why do you do it?
Honestly, I was taken aback. I've been writing comments like this for years, and people seldom reply. The only time people asked me questions online were when they were asking if I was dropped as a baby or if my mom smoked crack while she was pregnant with me. I thought about what to type back. My fingers danced across the keyboard as the words, "because I have no soul," came to appear in the small reply box before pressing the reply button. He didn't reply to my second comment. I figured I just scared him off and continued my routine. Only an hour later, he found me again. He was replying to a post where I was telling Shane Dawson that I'd rather watch a corpse decompose than watch him tasting Mexican junk food. My possible stalker asked,
Why have you no soul?
I replied to his comment, I sold it to Lucifer in exchange for your mom. Again, he didn't reply to my comment. I couldn't help but feel a little creeped out by what was going on. Not only did he find me a second time, but he was asking another question similar to his first. I mean, what the fuck? Was this guy crazy or something? I started looking at his account. His username was the Black Lake, and his profile picture was some creepy picture of a lake. That, honestly, was the strangest thing I'd ever seen. I couldn't bring myself to understand why someone would waste their time photoshopping that for a channel that didn't have any videos. I looked at his about section and found a weird poem.
I see right through their hollow eyes. Light and dark are equally fake. They can sense their own demise. Their souls end up in the Black Lake.
I started to get really freaked out. As I stared at his YouTube channel, I wondered if this was some kind of cultist serial killer or something. It just seemed like he was putting a lot of effort into freaking me out. I tried calming myself down. He's just some lonely troll with even less of a life than I had, I kept telling myself. As freaked out as I was, I almost enjoyed the attention. Someone cared enough about me to go through the effort of doing this. I took a break from leaving comments on YouTube to go eat a frozen pizza. By the time I'd gotten back, I was curious to see if my possible stalker still had an interest in me. I left a reply on none other than PewDiePie's channel, and what do you know? There was Black Lake again, but it was different this time. His comment appeared much faster than the other ones had. I was really freaked out when I realized that his comment was posted at the exact same time mine was. I can't explain how he did it. I'd spent years in the comment section and never once in my life had I been replied to so fast. I mean, how did he even know what video I was watching? I grew increasingly suspicious and started to look around my house. Was I being stalked? I walked around the humongous house, anxious to find a man in a black mask typing away. This did nothing but reinforce the feeling of being completely alone and defenseless in this house. I chalked the whole thing up to being some kind of odd coincidence. I kept telling myself that YouTube had been glitchy for weeks, and this probably had something to do with it. I decided to start leaving comments on videos with less views. That way, there was surely no way he could find me. I typed a few random words into the search bar, set a few ridiculous search filters, and unleashed hell on the least viewed video I could find. To my horror, the Black Lake had found me yet again, and again he had replied to my comment seemingly as soon as I posted mine. How? How the fuck was he doing this? That was when I reported every reply he ever left me and reported his account, and made 3 other accounts just to do it all again. I double checked that everything on my account was set to private and then logged out. I didn't want to take the chance that he'd find me again, so I made a new YouTube account with no affiliation to my other and continued on my way. Honestly, I watched a few videos without even leaving a comment because I still felt like he'd be there, replying to my comment within seconds. I told myself I was being stupid and to just grow a pair and get on with it. I did my best to put the Black Lake out of my mind and wrote a troll comment on some weird video that only had 260 views. I refreshed the page a few times to see if he'd found me again, but to my surprise, he didn't. I started yelling at my computer. I guess I finally outsmarted you, you stupid I stopped mid-sentence when I saw him again. My blood turned cold as I rubbed my eyes and squinted at my computer screen just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. But there he was, again. I sat there, unsure of what to do next. I wondered briefly if I should call the police, but I had a feeling they weren't going to believe a word of what I had to say. But I knew I had to get the hell away from that computer and out of the house. I got up and rushed to the phone, dialing my foster father's cell phone. I got the voicemail a few times, but he finally picked up the 3rd call. I screamed at him and demanded that he pick me up and take me out to the cabin with them. He refused at first, but quickly changed his mind when I threatened to burn his fucking house down. Funny how my well-being is secondary to their house. Assholes. Anyway, the next morning, disgruntled and frustrated, he picked me up in his SUV and drove me out to the cabin. He told me I'd be sleeping outside in the cold in a tent, but that was still better than being alone in that house, with the Black Lake coming to get me. For a few days, everything was fine, and I was able to just clear my head. I spent most of my time outside, listening to the sounds of nature, mostly because my foster parents were too busy snorting coke and fucking in the cabin to bother with me. It was pretty nice though. I got to enjoy nature, and finally got to a place where I wasn't always paranoid and scared. I slowly made my way through a path I wasn't familiar with. It was so soothing not to be in a constant state of envy. I almost felt at peace for once. It had to have been at least an hour before I realized it was gonna get dark soon, and I needed to turn around. I was just about to stop and turn around when I saw it. I stood there, mouth agape, not believing what was right before my eyes. It was the Black Lake. It was the same one from his profile picture. Oddly enough, I didn't feel fear. I felt more at ease than I ever had in my entire life. I knew then and there that he was right. This was my eternal resting place, and it would also be the resting place for the other thousands of tainted souls out there. I slowly made my way into the lake. I reached the bottom of the lake, and as I looked up, I was overcome with serenity. Before finally slipping out of consciousness, I spoke my last words. One drop of darkness, humble and small, until the final day, it consumes them all.